Alex. When I bought my first home, I asked my mum for a drill for Christmas and never looked back. With each project, I've gained more confidence and learned new skills, and now I'm here to show you that you can learn too. Welcome to You Can Do It, a wall paneling series with B&Q, where today we're talking shaker paneling. Here we are in the B&Q studio where we've installed our shaker paneling. You may also know shaker paneling as board and batten, but it's all about clean lines and simplicity. The panels are typically made from strips of MDF which create inset boxes, and it's the perfect way to add texture and depth to any plain wall in your home. The living room is often known as the heart of the home, but we can have a tendency to push our furniture against the wall and not think too much about what's on them. What I want to show you today is how you can use shaker style paneling to take what was a boring wall and turn it into something really beautiful. You can do the whole wall, you can go for half height, 3/4. I want to have a cozy feel, so I'm gonna opt for quite a dark color, and to make sure it's not too overpowering, I'm gonna have half height and pair it with a neutral up above. Now, when we're creating shaker paneling, we use MDF to give a traditional look, but if you want to go for a more Regency style, we can inset some decorative moulding to give that feel. The other thing you want to consider is other ways you can bring in elements and textures, and a great way to do that is through neutral soft furnishings. You can do this with curtains, rugs and blinds, and by having them in a lighter colour, it'll really complement that dark cozy paint. The final thing you may want to consider in your living space is how you can bring some greenery in through some house plants. And I know it can be overwhelming because it's your living room, but don't find it too daunting. Just have a go and get started. The first thing we have to do is work out the vertical height of our paneling. As you can see, we have our sofa here, and after all our hard work, we definitely still want to be able to see it. So let's work out the vertical height our paneling needs to be. Measure it from the skirting board to the ceiling. That's 240 centimetres. Now half of that is 120, so what I'm going to do is mark on the wall with some frog tape at our desired height. Before we do any more measurements, we need to move the sofa. I wish it was that easy, really. Now, measure the width of our wall. That's 362 centimetres, and I think looking at this wall, roughly 4 boxes should work out. Now, 4 boxes means that we will have 4 vertical 10cm strips, but we also need to account for 1 at either end. So we're going to do 4 plus 1 to give us 5 and multiply that by the width of our MDF. Then we do the width of our wall and subtract the number that you've just worked out. Divide that all by 4, which gives us the width of our boxes. Now work out the length of your vertical strips. To do this, we're going to take our already predetermined height of our paneling and subtract our top and bottom widths of our horizontal pieces of MDF. Now for this project, I'm using a slightly wider strip on the top because I'm going to have a dado rail, but the same principle applies. Excuse me, where's the 9mm MDF? Oh, perfect, thanks. This is great. Someone's going to cut our sheet into 10cm strips. By buying 1 sheet and having the full thing cut, it makes the project so effective. And would you believe we only need 1 sheet for the whole room? Sometimes in the beginning when you're doing DIY, it can be really daunting to go to your local timber merchant. As a retail customer, you can get 5 free cuts at B&Q, and if you've got a trade card, you get 15. Ah, perfect. Here we go. I've already got Salon Drab for this project, which is quite a dark, moody kind of paint, so I want to balance it out with a kind of neutral that's a good bit lighter. I think Dimity could be a good shade. Salon Drab is really similar to London Clay. Ah, perfect. Here we go. My top tip when you're picking up decorators' caulks is to make sure you don't get one that's too big for your cartridge guns. They're on the shelf in 2 different sizes, so just be sure you know which one you need for your project. I know this is the right size for mine. So now what we're going to do is set up our laser level. Ooh, this is fancy. So let's turn that on, wind this down to where we've already made our marker on the wall. So I'm placing my frog tape here below the height of the line where my paneling is going to be, and that means it will be the perfect height for my light colour, and then follow with the darker colour after. So now we've got that marked up on the wall, let's get to painting. I'm wondering in a minute how I'm going to magically get the height to get up here. So now that we've got our wall painted, what I want to show you is you can play around at home with your design using frog tape. So let's try putting this design here and seeing if this would work for a slightly higher number of boxes. Oh, disaster. You see, this one won't work. Let's scrap that. It's gonna go through our socket, and if we want to have a professional look, we definitely don't want joins in the wood through the socket. That was close. Oh. Let's make up our 3 boxes and then see how it looks. These are much more square in design, and I was going for rectangles for this look. So let's scrap this, get 4 boxes on the wall and see how it looks. So 4 boxes looks great. I need to take this frog tape off and replace it with the exact measurements in pencil. The wood that we're using for our panelling today, MDF, is really porous, so it's super important that we prime it to make sure that once we apply our paint, it isn't all sucked into the wood. Once your primer is dried, you can then get to work with painting. You'll notice that it should glide on really smoothly because you've already primed it. So you should get rid of that sort of furry effect that you sometimes see on MDF. So we end up with a really professional job today. I've measured my MDF, so we have 2 joins in the middle over one of our vertical uprights. But safety first. There we go. When you're putting no nails onto your panelling, do it in a zigzag line so as you have maximum coverage. What we want to do is rest this up against the skirting board, push it into the corner and secure it onto the wall. Now, don't always assume that the edges of your wall are straight. Be sure to also check with the spirit level that they're plumb before moving on. This one's perfect. You may find that your MDF might be slightly warped, or perhaps your wall isn't straight. If you find yourself in that position, you can just use a nail gun to tack in at the top of your panelling. The finishing touch is to add a dado rail. You'll notice here I've cut it at a 45-degree bevel cut, but if you're not confident using a miter saw, you can also join them with a straight cut too. And there we go, the final piece of the puzzle. Once you've got all your panelling on the wall, you may notice that there's a gap between the MDF and where your wall is. What you can do is take some decorator's caulk and just squeeze it into the gap and it will start to fill. And then what I like to do is follow behind with a wet paintbrush. Repeat that process around the interior seams of all of our squares. We've just used some caulk because it's a flexible product that we can push into the gaps, but now we're going to use this filler to go in between the joins. It should look like one piece of wood. Here I am in the finished living room. I'm so chuffed with it. I love the symmetry of the design too, and it's a great way to help you decide where to put your frames. I've also extended the colour of my panelling down onto my skirting, which helps to give a really cohesive look. Don't forget all of the tools and materials from today's episode are listed in the description below. I hope you enjoyed this wall panelling episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe and tune in to the rest of the series.